Live now. Hi, speaking of which, hi. Good evening, everyone. Welcome to Holy Crap, the vlogcast. The vlogcast that comes from a skeptical point of view to answer some of the questions of why. The vlogcast started as a combination of spite and the Streisand effect because we can't stop talking about stuff. Even though I say, look, we're going live. Nah, we just step all over each other because we're that's the kind of people we are. All I ask is just for a simple dress rehearsal.
You keep asking, you're still not going to get it.
Yeah, I know. Part of this is to follow through with the old
dress rehearsals.
Part of this is to follow through with the old adage, sometimes the journey is more important than the destination. I'm your main host. I'm known as Shujin Tribble all over the place. You can find me pretty much everywhere under that, S-H-U-J-I-N. Oh, God, can you tell what kind of a night it's going to be? I'll tell you why I'm kind of wired right about now. I've got a sugar buzz going on. Like I said, I'll tell you why in a minute. Let me go ahead and introduce you to everybody from the Midwest of the U.S., somewhere where it might still be not quite that cold. Bridget, good evening.
Good evening.
From Pittsburgh, where if it's anything like it is over here, it's kind of rainy and not quite frigid. Joey, good morning.
You won't hear me complaining.
No, I can't say I blame you. And from across the water over to Pittsburgh, sorry. It's going to be one of the...
Care to rethink that one? Because...
See, the problem is I was thinking to myself, Paris Island. That's the... No, I shouldn't talk about the jarheads. Ah, damn it. Who am I supposed to be? Damn it. It's going to be one of those nights. From Paris, France, across the water, in the mainland of the EU, where there isn't a Frexit going on, fortunately. Joseph, good morning.
Good morning.
God damn it. It's going to be one of those. Okay, so let me explain to you why I'm the way that I am right now. Besides the other stuff that you guys know about. Tonight was my kids' the second to last school play. And they're doing Mamma Mia. And they had the cast rep party, although they still have a matinee to do tomorrow. And there's a lot of food over there. And by food, I mean sugar. I mean cookies and donuts and more cookies and more donuts and cupcakes and cookies with multicolored M&Ms and what's the expression? Pre-vodka, apparently, in bags. So, potato chips like crazy. And drink of all kinds of carbonated fructose intoxicant. So I have just a little bit of a sugar rush going on because I had coffee from Tim Hortons and I had a honey cruller. And I think I may have just sipped a little bit too much. So it's been one of those nights. And I literally got home 10 minutes ago, when normally I would have been here and setting up everything a half an hour before show. Oh, no. 10 minutes of setup, and that was it.
So consider the show detox.
Yeah, good luck on that. So, hi, everybody. If you're watching live, of course, first, enjoy my pain tonight, because I'm going to have a sugar crash at some point, I'm sure. But, of course, thank you for joining us. If you're watching live, there is a chat feature somewhere on your screen. I don't care where it is. Feel free to enjoy it and have fun talking to this. Stephanie, I know that you're over there. I know that some people are kind of wondering, okay, what's going on with this whole daylight savings? Move your yeah, it doesn't happen until after the show is over. So yeah,
I woke up an hour too early. Which means 4:30 here.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm sorry for that part.
I'm not sure who to blame.
Aliens. It was aliens.
Sure. Yeah, we'll go with that. I don't care.
We'll
go with the British rail.
Say no on that one, because if there is that intelligent life out in the universe, they've already seen us and decided, yeah, fuck that noise.
And there it goes. Thank you. Red
You're
flag
welcome.
right on the open. Nice. That's nice.
Maybe they'll be by after the show.
Yeah, we'll see what happens. So, by the way, you're gonna have fun with this one. I do have a drink for tonight. that I did pick up. This is Steel Reserve 211. I have no idea exactly what this is, except that it says that it is slow brewed for exceptionally smooth flavor, high gravity lager. And the only reason why I got it is because it was at one of the gas stations in town. Granted, it's a small town that I've got, in the get rid of it rack for 79 cents. So I figured, why not? For under $1, what can I do? What can I do wrong?
Does that have anything to do with Steeler beer?
I have no idea.
I have some very bad memories of a Christmas when I was 13 years old. Yeah, well, it's the beer my parents had left outside the house because nobody wanted to drink it. So
Okay, see, there's a difference. See, out here, this time of the season, if somebody leaves beer outside the house, it's because it's cold, and that's just a very simple way of keeping it cold. Yeah, Buffalo in the middle of winter. What are you gonna do?
Oh.
Which, by the way, it's above freezing and it's raining, so I'm really looking forward to when it dips under freezing again today.
Ugh.
Yeah, we'll see how that plays out. Anyway, so I will literally crack open the cold one, and oh, it is very pale.
You know, I just might join you in that sentiment.
It's
The cold one, not the pale.
it's
how's this going to work with the sugar buzz?
I don't know, but I'm gonna Bridget. I know I'm probably gonna be really in trouble for asking this one, but look at the color of this. That's an unhealthy urine color right there, isn't it?
You need to drink more water.
Well, hold on.
What?
With the amount of fluid that is present, that would be at best a mild case of dehydration.
Well, yeah, but he needs to drink more water.
True.
Yeah, let's just
Drink-
keep that in mind.
Drink water before I have to pop the saline.
I'd find the bubbles in it a bit worrying.
You know what? Considering that it's got that foam at the top, yeah, you know what? I'm right there with you.
Well, when you're dehydrated, that does happen.
You know what? I don't think that I really want to be thinking about that anymore. I'm sorry I opened up my damn mouth. That's what I get.
But is it any good?
I don't know. We'll find out. We'll find out momentarily. By the way,
Clearly, I am the only one here, besides perhaps Bridget, who has had to deal with the horrors of a communal latrine.
Gross.
Oh, hey, I've been there.
you know,
I haven't had to clean them.
That's what we call burn barrel duty.
Well, I was the latrine queen.
Actually, we just call that duty.
Yeah, we'll discuss this. We'll discuss this another time.
She's just turning red. Why?
Because I'm drunk now. That's why. That's my excuse. Shut up. I'm gonna go with that one. And by the way, Trippin, I do see you over there. Hi. So, yay, balmy 50 Fahrenheit in North Carolina. I have a gonad that you can suckle on if you would like. So you're welcome. Enjoy that one.
Did I hear gonad?
He did.
So let me go ahead and get started with tonight's show. Because we got stuff to talk about. I'm gonna end up insulting.
Did you know
people
that technically ovaries qualify as gonads?
Yes,
they do.
Yes, yes. Stamen and pestils also qualify as gonads.
Yep.
Which makes the bumblebee just the the third wheel. He's the pleasure gimp for the flowers.
Oh my god, I just feel bad for bumblebees. Just hey, don't mind me. I'm everything's just gonna be. It's okay, little bumblebee. You just go ahead and do your thing. And then you got yellow jackets and wasps. I'll see you in hell. Tell them who sent you.
I'm just a go-between for you.
Oh god, I gotta find that.
The part of the birds and bees stories they didn't tell you about.
The bird and the bees. Yeah, except that the birds are T-Rex and the bees don't matter. Wait a minute, I'm crossing my TV shows here. Okay, we'll move on.
That's why the T-Rex is so angry.
Yeah, I'll come back to that in a little bit. Let me get started so I can get this all going over here. I see how this is going to be. So, with 5 minutes on the clock, oh, God, it's going to be one of those nights. Your 5-minute freestyle starts right now. Furries! Oh, God. You know, it's that time of the year again. My birthday came up earlier this week. Yes, I'm over 1 Jack Benny old. Okay, just leave it at that. I'm 1.2 something Jack Benny's old. Just leave it at that. The tweet that I sent out about it, by the way, was actually seen by and liked by one of Jack Benny's grandkids. So I was really thrilled about that, but that's not the point. So about this time is when the little one and I go up to Toronto, and that's actually going to be happening next weekend. So because of that, you know, we're very likely not going to have a show because, you know, reasons. We're just not going to be able to do it. But the cool part about it is that it is a FurCon. It is a bunch of furries, artist types who get together and, you know, we have ourselves a good time. And it's Fernal Equinox. Been going there ever since it started. And it's now into its 10th year. And they had a little thing that was FE2me, hashtag FE2ME, because they wanted to find out in 1 minute, in 60 seconds, what does Fernal Equinox mean to you? And they've got paid admission to next year, I think is what it is, for, you know, a serious upgrade to, you know, VIP status or super sponsorship or whatever it is that they're offering up. And I thought about it and I realized that, you know, there's a lot you can say in 60 seconds. There, however, are too many things to put into 60 seconds for me. And it was kind of tough for me to try to figure out what to say. And I actually recorded myself on my phone, my previous phone, which, by the way, is I've since upgraded. But I tried to just wing it, and I ended up, you know, overtime. All right, fine. Let's try it again. Delete that one. Try it again. Overtime. All right, whatever. Okay. And I thought really hard about what it was that I really wanted to say. And it came down to this. 2007 was the first time that I went to a FurCon. I was told to go to Anthrocon in Pittsburgh, the biggest FurCon at the time. It's since been surpassed, but that's okay. But arguably the mecca of furry arts conventions. And like I said in the video, I had no idea going into it that I had 5,000 close, warm, personal friends that I had just never met before. So a few years later, Fernal Equinox comes up. And it's around my birthday. The little one had never been to. So I figured, okay, let's go. So we went. And we were there for the very first day of the very first con. They were expecting 150 people would show up. They got 300 plus. They ran out of con books. They didn't know what to do with. They told the hotel, whatever is your normal budget for bacon, double it. Oh, yeah, sure. Yeah, it will be fine. They ran out of bacon. They literally had to get an emergency delivery of bacon because they ran out. And they warned him. So I got to thinking about this. And it finally dawned on me. What does Fernal Equinox mean to me? Family. You know, there is a line from The Breakfast Club. And I can't quote it right now because I just can't. But when they talk about, you know, who's in what clubs, the burnout tells them, you know, sad and demented, but social. I guess in a way we all are, aren't we? It doesn't matter what group we're connected with. We're all weirdos to somebody else, whether we're in the furries or the sci-fi guys or the science nerds or the debate club. We're all just a little bit weird from everybody else. And you know what? I wouldn't have it any other way. It's what makes it interesting. It's episode 252 on the docket, Your Honor. My child's name is I don't know. I was actually trying to figure out if there was some way that I could make a word out of all that, and I just looked at it for about 3 seconds and said, "Yeah, no, I'm not going to bother. It's not worth it." So it's properly pronounced Schlegelhoffen. I'm going with that. I don't care, whatever. And it's a combination of a couple of things that ended up happening. Like I said, the SciShow news that ended up coming up about the DNA 4+4, the Hachimoji DNA, which is wow. And a couple of weeks ago at Center for Inquiry, we ended up talking about genetic manipulation and treatments and custom baby building. So I thought this would be a good way of getting away from, you know, the 24-hour news cycle that's, oh my God, I want to pull what's left of my hair out. And I figured this would be a little bit more entertaining because, wow, when the hell have we actually talked about morality stuff in a reality sense? So we'll get to that. Joining just in the middle of my talking and such, from outside of Muellertown, Unrenowed Tech, good morning.
Good morning, everybody.
So yeah, it's gonna be one of those days. So I did go looking. Unfortunately, at the moment, there is no new news on the situation for Raif Badawi. I have nothing that's popped up in my news cycle, which, again, all to the norm, which is unfortunate, which means as of the time of this recording, it is now 6 years, 8 months, 25 days since Raif Badawi was unjustly incarcerated for thought crime. Our hopes, our thoughts are still with you and your family, and we're still hoping. We're still waiting. So, as for tonight's drink of choice, I believe it's properly pronounced Chaim.
Close enough. Close enough for government work.
Yeah. You know what? I'm going to go with
Bad thing.
It is beer.
It is beer.
Bad things to do after a night of heavy drinking. All right. So where's this boy we're going to circumcise?
You know what? I don't think that's such a good idea, man. That kid, look, dude, look. Okay, look.
This is your captain speaking. Go ahead.
Look. All right, look. Okay. I know we're getting paid for this one, but okay. He's 20. I don't know if we should do this one. Pay is good, but 20. Yeah, we'll go with that. So yeah.
So is that beer any good for 79 cents? That's what we want to know.
Well, now see, here's the problem.
You're about 3 shades away from Jeff Bridges on that one.
Well, I was actually trying to channel
Where's
Foster
the money?
Brooks.
Where's the money, Lebowski? Oh, I'm sure it's down there. Let me take it out.
It's the wrong Lebowski. I'm the dude.
Yeah, I know. You know what? Hold on a second. For 78 cents, though, From what I remember of
Oh boy, we're
stuff
getting...
like from what I remember from when my dad would let me have a taste off of beers, as a kid. Which, by the way, statute of limitations is over, so it doesn't matter. Whatever. I could see this being equivalent to traditional Budweiser. From what I remember. Now, admittedly, this is going back 39 years. So, for for 79 cents, I don't think it's bad.
I don't think you have to worry about statute of limitations anyway. If I remember correctly, isn't there a clause that states that a minor can consume an alcoholic drink, but they're not allowed being drunk, and B, it is only in their home, on their property, under supervision.
I wouldn't test it.
Yeah, and I would go with no, because beer parties for high school, serving alcohol to minors, that's usually a bad thing.
Again, it's just something I wouldn't test.
Again, I'm speaking as a former Catholic here. Maybe laws have changed since I was still a Catholic. I don't know, but
probably just a little bit.
Well, what's changed is basically how readily available information is nowadays. My father had said that he was able to convince his parents, because he grew up in New York, that it's okay to cross state lines into Canada and drink there, because their drinking age was much, much lower than our own, because they're Canadians, they're more relaxed, and it really wasn't that much lower. So he got away with a lot of stuff back in the day that my son would just dream about in today's day and age.
Yep.
Well, it used to be a thing when I was younger. Drinking age was lower in Mississippi, and I lived on the state line, so yeah.
Dry county, not tonight.
Yeah, true enough. So,
and the youngest,
and
I did the beers as a kid too, mowing the lawn with my dad and such. The one flavor I can remember the earliest taste of was Genesee Cream Ale.
Jenny Cream Ale. I've heard horror stories.
For those of you who are unfamiliar with the term dry county, lucky you.
Move to Elizabethtown in Kentucky, and you'll be just as surprised as I was when I first found out what dry county meant.
Yeah, that's a wonderful thing. So for anybody that's wanting to keep score, so like I said, here we go. Steel Reserve 211. Like I said, it was closeout for 79 cents, and for what I think a mass marketed horse piss beer should taste like, yeah, I suppose it's worth it. So keep that in mind.
Meanwhile,
for later,
I'm over here with my standard,
which is,
oh come on now.
Let's see, how many people are actually always listening to the show? For the studio audience.
I like my bread bottled.
By whom?
By one Arthur Guinness, thank you very much.
Thank you. It's like pulling freaking teeth with you, man. I know. That's why
I'm trying not to plug here, but because I say, oh, I only drink Guinness, and people think I'm snide and shit. No, I just like Guinness.
No, you're snide and because that's just the way that you are. I mean, it's
I'll also
matter.
take a black and tan, but I ain't got a black and tan now, do I?
I don't know. It's the weekend. You can do whatever you want. We don't judge you here.
No, actually, this, I believe, is the last bottle of beer that I have in this apartment. So,
no more bottles of beer on the wall.
Well, not for lack of want, but I've got other shit that I have. I've got other things that I have to deal with before. Let's see, what exactly am I at? 52 days. I have 52 days to get this entire apartment cleared out. Which has been interesting because I'm just waiting for the police to show up again.
That ought to be fun.
Because
So-
I have had my firearms out, cleaning them up, because instead of just trying to repack them and move them, this time I'm actually just getting rid of most of them.
Well, we shall see how that plays out. So, for those of you that might be listening and paying attention, yes, I'm going to be formally putting out the word that we're going to be in need of some co-hosts to come join us very soon, because we will be down one permanently, and Joe will very likely be, well, otherwise unavailable for the foreseeable future thereafter.
Interwebs aren't exactly a major infrastructure focus in my hometown area, mainly because it's really hard to plug a soybean into or a cow into a USB port. But if you can figure it out, good on you.
Yeah, there was, I forget who it was, but somebody on Facebook had gone ahead and said that they mounted a television to the wall earlier today. And yes, it's exactly what you think. And my answer to that was, dude, if you can fit it in the F connector, more power to you. You don't know what I'm talking about. If you think that I'm saying the F connector, no, look up F connector and you'll see. If you can fit in the F connector, oh God, I can't believe I'm about to say this. I'm gonna get in such trouble right about now. Needle Dick the bug fucker. Okay, fine. I got that one out of the way.
There you go. There you go.
So I get that one out of the way. All right. So
something interesting though, Joseph, I'm gonna have to get in touch with you, seeing as you're the one over there with all the wacky different outlets. I have in my going through of 20 years worth of accumulated junk. I have found all my old power supplies and adapters for pretty much every single plug throughout the world. And seeing as I don't plan on doing any international travel anytime soon.
Want to send it to me?
I figure you probably could get some more use out of them.
Oh, that's quite kind of you. Yeah, well, if you've got anything for France.
Because the last time I was in Europe, yeah, you could probably travel about 50 miles before you had to figure out a new way to plug your frickin' computer or phone in.
Things are pretty consistent nowadays, I think.
Well, this was a while ago, so
yeah.
I have to keep reminding myself I'm not a young man anymore.
You know,
despite
myself every day.
Despite sounding like a prepubescent teenager,
perennially 28 years old.
Hey, it's all in the head.
Hey, I got a I personally consider it a compliment because I did go to buy a beer the other day and I got carded.
Don't think it's such a compliment. Everybody gets carded. Hell, look at me. I get carded.
But here's the thing. They immediately said, yeah, I'm going to need to see some ID. I mean, you look like you belong in high school. Thanks. As if my case of baby face wasn't bad enough.
Fair enough. Anyway, so let's go ahead and talk on this. So let's go ahead and start with high school biology for a second. Bridget, front and center. Organic or high school organic chemistry. How much did you cry?
A lot.
Can't imagine why. Tell the good people why people cry in the middle of organic chem.
Because it's freaking hard.
That's the nicest way of putting it. If you've never looked at organic chem, all you need to know is carbon rings, and after that, everything just goes to shit.
And having draw those out, and then after if you see one draw it out, name it, and I'm like, I don't know.
Yeah, I've got 2 organic chemistry textbooks from college that I have had on Craigslist probably for going on 3 months now. Yeah, not a single call.
Can't imagine why. By the way, for what it's worth, believe it or not, there is actually a company that is currently selling spiral-bound notebooks, where instead of having straight lines across, it has the hexagonal grids specifically for organic chem folks.
Probably with benzene rings and everything. Woohoo.
Well, it's got the hexes.
Yeah.
A
So
whole
you
big
could draw
grid.
your carbon bonds and all that crap.
Exactly.
And I bet you they have big packets of it on sale at every Warhammer store.
I wouldn't doubt it. I only just barely get that reference. So well done. Well done. I get you there.
I could have gone with the more obvious one, but yeah.
Which would have been...
Oh, come on, Gygax is rolling in his grave now.
I never saw anybody use that.
You don't recognize the name Gygax?
No, I do. I do.
Okay,
I'm just saying that I never saw anybody use hex maps for D&D.
Well, no, but doesn't mean they wouldn't.
No. I get you. All good.
Well, I see it, but only in like the big maps that like the DMs put out and stuff.
Fair enough. I get you. Anyway, so here's the thing. Organic chemistry on Earth, well, actually, organic chemistry, period, is based on the idea that carbon is the mainstay of what makes what we consider living creatures. And that's a very broad term.
Which means the high school organic chemistry class is going to get a lot more confusing once we finally, find whatever we're looking for on Titan.
Yeah, true that.
Not necessarily.
Well, now see here's okay. So here's where Joe's right. What ended up happening, for those of you that, for whatever reason, just barely skimmed over the information about the episode and didn't look at the linked in video, hint,
Yes.
in the show notes.
I saw the video.
Yes.
But I did some further reading.
Yeah. which is good. So DNA is, of course, what is considered, quote unquote, the building blocks of life as we know it. It's an incredibly complicated piece of machinery, and it's not wrong to call it machinery. Just at an organic level, at a microscopic or submicroscopic level, I should say. It is molecular machinery at arguably the universe's finest that we've seen to date. And it has what we've traditionally referred to as the 4 base pairs of molecules, which are, well, the letters are AGCT.
Yeah.
Which, truth be told, I completely forgot to double check what the names of them are.
Adenine, guanine, cytosine, tyrosine.
And funny enough, a lot of people watched the movie Gattaca and never picked up on that the movie's name is spelled with those 4 letters.
To be fair, there are people who have also listened to the Genesis song Abacab and never understood that it was actually telling you the format of the song. A, B, A, C.
To be fair, there are still people that think you can take frog DNA, plug it into some amber rejects, and yeah, you know where I'm going with that.
I don't.
Jurassic Park.
Ah, another one I've never seen.
They do move in herds.
Okay, sure. Yeah, let's go with that. So anyway.
I thought we weren't talking about religion today.
We're going to hold off on that.
Very.
That was good. That was good.
Yeah,
well
that's good.
Anyway, so the combinations of AGCT are what comprises standard DNA as we know it. Standard DNA, of course, being the originally thought it to be the triple helix, no, double helix. Okay, that's fine. Which is a little bit different from RNA, which is not quite the same thing. And I've always had a hard time trying to understand what the difference was, other than the fact that I know that RNA is one strand where DNA is two mated strands.
Yes.
Dinonucleic acid and ribonucleic acid.
There's
Deoxyribonucleic acid.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. And now, as I've understood it, and if I've got it wrong, and you do know correctly, please correct me. As I've understood it, DNA is what we would typically expect to see in usually either complex cells or multicellular organisms versus RNA that would be in simple celled animals,
Like viruses.
which
well, the committee's still out on viruses, but there are a number of very, very basic single cell organisms that utilize RNA rather heavily.
Yeah, and
But
what Joe
here's
means,
the thing: is RNA cannot replicate, DNA can.
yeah, and the reason why Joe was saying that the jury is still out on viruses is because we're not quite sure where viruses fall under the "it's alive, it's not alive" scale. It's some kind of funky thing that exhibits both traits or neither trait, or somewhere between. Virus is weird. It is it is one of those things where people kind of look at it and go, yeah, that's a biological weapon. It's not an alive thing. Well, it's kind of replicating, so it's kind of a lot. I don't know.
Well, it hijacks
weird.
other stuff to replicate. That's the thing.
Yeah, so technically, you could say that it's a parasite, which would be alive. Except that it doesn't exactly ingest food, does it?
No.
It's a very gray issue, simply because while it does meet some of the criteria for life, it doesn't meet all the criteria for life as we currently understand it.
And that's where it gets really, really bizarre right about here.
Which makes fighting viruses a big old pain in the butt.
Oh, ain't that the case? Because you're not always dealing with the virus directly, because in order to defeat the virus directly, you need a molecular, let's call it a molecular stitch ripper to rip open the virus head. Is that the right term for the typical phage kind of thing with the big lumpy thing and the legs down the other side?
I used to know that. Now I can't remember it.
Yeah, it's
blank.
Yeah, it's one of those things. I gotta find a
I'm sorry, I never got that big into playing Plague Inc.
Yeah, right. Anyway, so versus if you're dealing with the virus, usually what you try to do is try to bolster the body's own immune system to try to help repel the effects of. That sounds about the right way of dealing with them currently.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Okay. I mean, granted, there are in the case of bacterial infections and such, we have antibiotics. Those are exterior components that we can introduce to the body that will, if not target, at least hamper the activities of the bacteria, making them more susceptible to the body's natural defenses. In the case of viruses, we don't have anything that we can necessarily put into somebody to directly attack the virus. All we have available right now are vaccines, which is taking inactive bits of the virus, putting it in somebody's body, allowing the body's own immune system to spot it and recognize it in its inactive state, so that when they come across an active strain of it, they attack.
And I'm actually in the process of trying to find a picture of what these damn things look like, and I don't think that I'm going to be able to. Oh, I did find it. Mother of... Okay. Hold on. Well, that looks like... hold on a second.
I'm not a doctor, but I did pay attention in biology.
Yes. See, the problem is the picture that I've got is actually pretty small on my web browser, so I want to put it into its own... There we go. Plus, I don't want anybody to be taking a look at my my bookmark bar. So there you go. Picture of
There you go.
virus.
Yep.
So the one I've got is from a scanning electron microscope versus the one that Unrenowed Tech has got right now on the screen, which is drawn, but shows basically the overall structure of what it works like.
Yeah.
It's basically a needle on legs.
Yeah. Yeah. So it does what it does. To be fair, it does it very well, which can be really annoying, to put it mildly, because, you know, things like sickle cell anemia, if I remember right, isn't that a virus?
No, it's a mutation in the blood cells.
Okay, you're not helping me at all here. Fine, screw you.
If you need a better understanding, if a complex single cell or a multicellular organism could be likened to, say, a multi-ton hydraulic press, you've got all these different components that, you know, all do a particular job, and, you know, so on and so forth. A virus would be the equivalent of just a sledgehammer. It does a lot of the same things, but just doesn't have as many bells and whistles to it.
Fair enough. And tripping is over.
Yeah, I was going to tell you, sickle cell, that's a mutation that's actually advantageous.
In some respects, yes.
Well, it helps against malaria, which is why it developed.
Yes, but as I recall, it also does other not so nice things to the body.
Like over here, where you don't have to worry about malaria, yeah, it jacks up your blood and it clots and causes pain and death and all those good things.
Yeah, that pain thing is one thing. Yeah, that death thing is usually a bit of a deal breaker for most people, I would think. By the way, Trippin is saying looks like a mosquito.
Sort of.
I can understand where you're going on that.
Here's a slightly different angle.
Oh, wow.
That is really creepy.
Wow.
It's kind of like a it's kind of like a microscopic mosquito in reverse. Rather than draining your blood, it just spits all of its internal stuff into your cells and then proceeds to hijack the cells' reproductive. Well,
what I think is interesting, look where its feet are, right?
Yeah.
And the feet aren't digging in, but you can see it making little depressions in the cell wall just by making contact.
Yeah.
And it's like, considering how tiny these things are, it gives you it gives me a kind of deep respect for how fragile all that stuff is. And yet somehow here we are sitting here moving and all this, and everything supports us because it all works together.
Yeah, the thing that absolutely blows my mind is the size scale that we're talking about these things is positively mind-bending. I mean, we're talking about, you know, end of Ant-Man size type stuff. I mean, minuscule is not even funny.
Once you get down to that scale, it's just, you know, we have to change our entire perspective how we look at things, because once we get down to the, like, for example, the atomic scale, if you take the nucleus of an atom and you look at the electron orbiting around it, if you were going to make the nucleus the size of say a pea, you wouldn't even be able to see the electron orbiting around it. Be too far away.
You can't look at the electron anyway because never mind.
Yeah, well, it's a field, but yeah, whatever.
Yeah, which is a whole other thing.
Because we'll get into Heisenberg another episode.
Yeah, yeah. So the thing about this is that, like we were saying, what we would typically think of as alive, even here on Earth, we've got weird things, man, that kind of qualify, kind of don't. We've got stuff that kind of qualifies as animal and kind of don't, and stuff that kind of qualifies as plant and kind of don't. So, you know, we've got
That's just our ignorance speaking, our categorization, our need to put things into boxes.
And then we have the ones that just say, screw you, break all the rules, freaking tardigrades.
Yeah.
And what do you call mushrooms?
Okay.
I call them garbage because I don't eat.
I call them an excellent pizza topping.
Yeah, for somebody else's pizza, which is fine. You can have that on your pizza. That's perfectly fine.
Okay.
I don't care. Just
give Shujin the pineapple.
That's
Ew.
no. Wait.
Oh
That's-
God, no.
Hold on. It's fine. I will take the pineapple. I will pick it off, and I will put it into my Japanese curry because that's my piece that makes curry so much better. If you don't know, you should try it sometime.
But it doesn't belong on pizza ever.
It's fine. It's fine. Don't worry about it. Besides, what are you worried about? We already go ahead and put, you know, a fruit slushy on top of pizza anyway. So what's your problem?
A fruit slushy? What's a? Oh, you mean pizza sauce?
Pizza sauce.
Tomatoes are a fruit.
Tomato sauce. Pizza sauce. What the?
What's fruit slushy? What fruit slushy?
No, you're right.
Wait a second. Isn't a tomato a fruit?
Yes, exactly. That's the point.
See, intelligence tells you that a tomato is a fruit. Wisdom tells you which kind of salad it goes into.
That does not belong in a fruit salad.
Well, yeah, kind of. But anyway.
I
Moving right
clear,
along.
but
It's only a fruit salad if I make it, baby.
Tomato upside down cake. There you go.
Okay, moving along from this topic. Let's just keep on going over here. Some people caught that. You're my people, you sick bastards. All right, anyway. So as far as to trying to understand what qualifies as life, that's something that is somewhere between philosophy and biology. And it's hard for us to really be able to explain what it really is. We have things that we have taken for granted qualify as life. Humans, for one thing, we are an animal, whether you like it or not. We are an animal. We are a mutated gorilla, for lack of a better way of putting it. We are a mutated ape of some sort. Yes. Okay.
All right. Yeah.
Now, we know full well that there are other animals that are a little on the weird side. For instance, some people would say that kangaroos are basically the cross between a deer and a really, really lucky rabbit. Just saying. Just think about it for a while. And then you got, you know, the weird things. Like you've got the spoon-billed. Oh God, I forget what the hell it was called. The spoon-billed flamingo or whatever the hell it was. Some bird that's got long legs. It's got a big wide bill so that it can filter stuff out of the sand.
With the ugliest babies you've ever seen.
Yeah, and we know full well that, you know, you've got lemurs who are all kinds of cute and, you know, they get on TV every once in a while. You got platypi. Who? Wait, is it platypi or platypuses? I know it's octopuses.
Look, at this point, it's a mammal that swims.
I know where you're going with this.
And has venom. It doesn't matter what the hell you call it. It's just screwed up as hell.
Yeah. And then you've got frogs that will intentionally break its leg and use it to bludgeon enemies with, because that's what it does. There are lizards that spit blood out of their eyeballs. There are beetles that intentionally mix noxious chemicals in their own body to make acid, which, by the way, If you were instead doing that through your mouth, you would be a dragon. Just keep that in mind.
Can I throw a wrench into this?
Sure.
You know, no matter what we are, plant or no matter how you categorize us, a plant or animal or whatever, we're all mechanisms.
Agreed.
And the DNA seems to be almost a programming language.
And that in and of itself is a problem because it's not at the same time also. This is one of those duality things.
Without getting into the categorization game.
Well, it's too late. You've already opened the
it seems to serve that function.
It stores information.
Yeah. It's like building.
It is a storage system.
It dictates where the block should be built.
But understand that it's a constantly changing system. It has the ability to mutate in positive as well as negative means. It has a self-correction system built into it. It is extremely high capacity. So I think the specification said about a gram of regular DNA could store over 400 million terabytes of data, and that's not including punching the synthetic stuff into it to actually raise that number. The thing is, though, it's alive in the sense that
it's functioning.
It requires energy and a bunch of other stuff. But it also has a shelf life like nothing we have that we can manufacture. We have data that's we've extracted DNA that's hundreds of years old and more from things. We don't have hard drives or CDs that could last that long.
No, but it seems to be yeah.
It's not just a coding language. It's its own storage system. It's its own system of self-correction, which our programming languages don't have.
Oh, that's not true. Because like any
they don't.
Like a firmware and software, they have you can install routines that adapt to different environments. For example, different operating systems. I can make one program that'll work in any platform. And which part of itself it uses depends on the platform it's in.
You're to my knowledge, what you're describing is the programming system referred to typically as Java.
No. Well, it doesn't have to be Java. It can be any programming routine.
So long as it has a way of operating on whatever. That's a different piece entirely.
But anyways, a piece of software or firmware or whatever you want to call it can be adaptable too. It can detect its environment and adapt to it. Right.
Now, the reason why I was looking to kind of steer away from that, and I'm going to mention
I wanted to say that the same thing is going on in DNA, or so it would seem.
Right. Okay. So I'm going to kind of plop this down there, and then we're going to move past it because what I'm going to drop in here is a whole other opportunity for a whole other show because it is just one of those way too many pieces to go down. Calling DNA coding programming, please forgive me, air quotes there for a second. Programming is hold it. Calling it programming has way too much baggage because of what the term programming entails. Is there code and instructions? Yes, but calling it programming has way too much stuff into it that, like I said, we're not going to go down into. We will deal with that at another point. But for right now, I want to make sure that we understand that that area is one of those things that's going to take a while for us to kind of go through. And I don't want to go through that one now.
The categorization boat.
Right now. Right. Not right now. So
we'll call it engineering. How about that?
I'm sorry?
We'll call it engineering for now. How about that?
for
But Bridget sees where I'm coming from, I think.
Oh, I do too. I do
Okay.
too. But see the
What we call it doesn't matter. We're talking about the same thing.
It does because of intrinsic expectations.
What? Okay.
Because oh God, I can't believe I'm gonna. Okay, fine. I will open the door just this far. We have heard too damn many times where the presuppositionalists will use a program denotes a programmer argument.
Oh, dude,
That's why I did.
That's why you didn't want to use that.
Right.
Okay.
No, but we can just ignore that. I think between
Yeah,
us,
'cause we're not on that page.
we're not on that page, and we're not even,
Right.
whatever.
Right. But see the fact of you having brought up the term gets into the expectation, which falls into that piece. And like I said, that's a piece that I just don't want to go down any further than that.
Yeah, well, we can safely discard that
for the time. For the time being.
That notion, anyways.
Right. For
we're not talking
right
about that. Anyways, I said my piece. I made my point, so I'm done.
We're talking about replicating building blocks of carbon.
Yeah, no matter what you call them.
So yeah.
And
function.
I'm sorry. I'm checking over the group chat a second over here. By the way, Nebula, hi, and Jonathan, welcome. Put a shoe on your head. No. Shut up, phone. Calling it a database. In a way, yes, but again, it's one of those things where there's expectation of who built the database. Again,
if you want a really simple way to look at it, DNA is the blueprint.
And who crafted the blueprint? Again,
yeah, but
why
are you so worried
blueprints
about that?
Actually created with proteins. They're the engines.
Okay. All right. Let me. Fine. Full stop.
Who cares about what fundamentalists think?
We do because we're going to end up having to deal with it later anyway.
Well, let them write their nasty mails.
We need to get back on topic, people. Let's just talk about our thing.
We do. So we'll save that for another show. We'll do it next week. There's not going to be a show next week. Never. So all right. So the idea that DNA chemically is comprised of 4 different molecules that bond together in specific patterns that make other chemical reactions end up happening because they are read from that set. I'm trying very hard to be careful as to how I'm saying this, as you can probably tell.
We have 4 that form base pairs to make the building blocks of amino acids.
And those amino acids go out and do their thing, and they influence how the organic life form builds itself.
And they go together in a very specific manner. Otherwise, you have problems with bad mutations and things like that.
Right. Which sooner or later, that ends up happening because
you'll have a base pair substitution and then all hell breaks loose,
Right. So it's one of those things where we don't like it when that happens necessarily. Sometimes we don't care. For instance, if somebody suddenly has kids with blue eyes instead of brown, okay, yeah, whatever. That in and of itself doesn't matter. A blonde hair instead of brown, okay, yeah, whatever. Albinism versus having oh crap, what the hell is it called? Melanin. That's what I'm looking for. I was thinking melanoma. No, if you have albinism, you are at a higher risk for melanoma because melanin is what's necessary to help protect your skin from UV rays, otherwise getting cancer, because yay, cancer. Anyway. And the reason why those things happen is because there is no such thing as error-free replication. Nothing is 100%, even that statement, because sooner or later, something out there is going to go ahead and do its thing. And I've got an item that will tell you that the idea that there is never, ever completely accurate self-replication for cells, the Henrietta lacks cells. If you don't know about see, now somebody put in the chat for me so that I remember to go ahead and put up the information, because Henrietta lacks was somebody that has never, I don't think, ever gotten quite the due that's due her. That's a whole other thing.
John Hopkins has the her legacy on their website. I just put a link in the chat.
Do they?
Yes, they do.
Thank you. I will be more than happy to make sure that is in the
which
notes
includes a YouTube link as well.
Excellent. And Stephanie remembers Henrietta. Thank you. I'm very pleased to hear that. I'm really pleased to hear that. So we'll deal with that. So normally speaking, DNA is comprised of 4 base pairs of chemicals in order to make the helix, the information such as it is that expresses different combinations of amino acids, which dictate how a cell or an organism self-replicates, etc., ad nauseum. Okay, now what happens when you take 4 and you add 4 more, which is exactly what happened? It took a little bit of work, but these guys, and I forget who it was that ended up doing it, were able to craft 4 new molecules that could interact with and be self-replicatable. Yeah, sure, I'm going to pronounce it that way. With standard DNA, which is, again, the lettering system that they gave it is PBZS. Before anybody gives me shit that I'm American, not Canadian, shut up. Okay? Z. You know what? Piss off. I don't care. So they are a new combination that still work with standard traditional DNA as we know it. They had to do a little bit of wiggle in order to get the correct system that unzips and recodes, because some stuff didn't want to quite work right, but they were able to figure it out, and it worked. Now here comes the problem that we have to be dealing with. We already know, using the CRISPR system, how to change DNA, standard DNA now, in order to change out bad DNA sets, stuff that would otherwise cause disadvantageous mutations, shall we say. Genetic diseases. We know how to work with that. We are not in any way, shape, or form at this point in medical understanding terribly proficient at it. We are effectively using a club in order to test somebody's reflex response on their knee.
We're able to do it with, particular cells in a lab environment, but we're not yet at the point where we can use this as a treatment for somebody who suffers from a genetic disease.
Although we could, but the problem is trying to anticipate what happens after you do that is nigh on impossible.
Yeah.
Not quite, but it is nigh impossible currently.
Easy to do in a lab environment, not so much when you're dealing with a living, breathing, constantly changing human being.
Now, to give you an idea as to just how complicated this can be, let us assume for a moment that you imagine a small pond. Not terribly large, but a small pond. And you drop a sizable rock into the water, perfectly smooth, ripples start happening. Okay, we've heard this before. Oh yeah, okay, fine, sure, yeah. The ripples go out, they reflect off of stuff, and they come back and they interact with each other. Right, okay, fine. Did you picture the same type of pond that I did? Because if you pictured one that's perfectly round, I didn't. I pictured one that has a dock with a boat, with a very long section, a dog leg, as a matter of fact. So those ripples, if they could perfectly replicate themselves all the way out and all the way back, those are going to interact in ways that we would have an incredibly difficult time trying to anticipate. Because there's a lot of stuff that interacts, and sometimes it doesn't always interact the way that we expect it to. And sometimes there are interactions that happen that we simply have no way of anticipating. And that's the big problem with DNA. Because it isn't just the pairs, it's also the way that the DNA curls onto itself and bulges in certain ways. And whether it replicates correctly or not, and how it's affected by that. And it is just terribly complicated. And that's the reason why, when we were early on, I was asking Bridget, how much did organic chem make you cry? I mean, seriously, it's insane. I mean, I vaguely remember some of the stuff that I went through, and just dealing with it from the chemistry point of view. It's nuts. You had to have gone through some of that and just gone, how does anybody actually know this stuff? I mean, in between crying and taking tests and going, oh my God, 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 oh my God.
Yeah, I cried a lot. Yeah. It was very frustrating.
Yeah, and it's one of those few times where I can say, a college level textbook, $300.
Yeah.
Yeah, I can see that.
Well, the problem that I see though with this hash emoji is that our base pairs so far with our standard DNA are double bonded, and these new base pairs have triple bonds. So that would make it more complicated to integrate, I would think.
But yet,
It would make it stronger, but
to paraphrase Galileo, and yet they did, and yet
but only inside a lab.
At this point, that is correct, and therein lies the problem, because it is in a lab. In the early part of the 21st century, this is experimental, confirmed experimental, in a laboratory environment, which means it's possible. And therein lies the problem. We have the possibility of doing genetic testing on embryos when they are still simply multicellular globs that wouldn't even fit on the end of Clippy's. You know what? I gotta be nice. I gotta be nice. The end of Clippy's period. That doesn't sound good either. You know what? Whatever. You figure it from there. So let's put it this way.
It's all fun and games till Microsoft decides to sue.
Yeah, you know what? And then I'll just bring up Microsoft Bob for Windows 95, and they can just suck my anus.
I find the concept that people are upset when they hear about the potential to edit human DNA. And I think to myself, Really, you're that upset that we're potentially taking something that is not becoming a human, that has not received the necessary dose of other DNA and such, that it can grow and become a human, or even if it has, it still hasn't reached any stages that we would classify it as human. And we're examining how the DNA works, which sections of it are causing autism, which ones are causing leukemia, which ones are causing uh, Asperger's, various versions of that, and so on and so forth.
Down syndrome.
Angiosarcoma, you name it, and they get upset by that. And now the pro-lifers, or I should say the pro-birthers, okay, fine, they're irrational. I understand that. I have met people who, like myself, say, "Hey, look, it's a bundle of cells. It doesn't have a brain. It doesn't have a heart. Doesn't have any of those things yet. Why the hell are you pissing on everything?" And then when we get to the same, it doesn't have a heart, doesn't have a brain, doesn't have eyes, doesn't have any of that stuff yet. And we're getting into genetic engineering on it. Oh, crap, no, don't do that. And I was like, why not? It doesn't have a brain, doesn't have a heart, it's not conscious. It was like, screw you. We agreed. This is a bundle of cells. This is not a human being yet. Let's go to town and get this stuff knocked out so that no more children have to be born with childhood leukemia or develop childhood leukemia. No more kids have to be born with autism. No more kids have to be born with allergies that, oh my God, if they ingest this one little nut right here, they're dead. Hey, guess what? Yeah, I got that nice little twist.
Yeah, let me now that you brought that one out, let me throw something out to all of you, because I had a thought while we were at over at CFI. We were talking about the whole the idea of basically designer babies. You get the idea from that. And Bridget, I'm expecting to have a very professional. I don't know what the right term for it would be, but I'm going to professionally horrify you with the idea that this actually came out of my head. So you all follow along with this one for a second. The idea of being able to work on human DNA in order to understand better what different aspects of DNA expression could be and could do, to anticipate which ones and how change the idea of having the entire internal organ structure reversed left to right.
Why would
Okay.
you do that?
Hold it, because if you're horrified now, okay, you'll understand in a second why I'm having a hard time getting through this one, because I still can't believe that this one came out of my head.
I don't understand why we should be horrified.
Because of this. If the problem with the pro-birthers, the pro-life contingent, is that life should be given the opportunity to be born, and aborting a fetus should never be the case because it deserves the opportunity to live. If human testing were allowed to continue, whether in a live subject or in an artificial womb, and the DNA was specifically set to activate the gene set that makes a fetus not develop a brain, so that the other stuff could be tested for body stuff.
Well, if it doesn't develop a brain, how's it going to develop the rest of the body?
Oh, it can. Have you not heard of anencephaly before?
I thought there was still a brainstem with that.
Not necessarily.
Well, there
See,
comes some point where the the building blocks they're built, and then something kicks in to start its function.
pardon?
Well, in the development process, the embryo develops to a certain point, like all the building blocks are put in place, and there comes a certain point where something kicks in. I'd call it almost a go-to routine, where it becomes "quote unquote" alive.
All right, so according to Wikipedia entry on anencephaly, it basically boils down to part of the brain doesn't develop, the part that has to do with cognition. Okay, so basically it doesn't have the ability to be cognizant of anything that's going on.
Now, how long before the brainstem develops? Does it say?
Well, it's saying that the tube defect closes 23rd to 26th day following conception, and that by closing a particular neural tube, or it's a failure in a neural tube defect, so it's not saying the spinal column, but in a neural tube, that leads to this disorder happening. But here's the thing. Shujin said no brain. This is saying partial.
But is that alive? It can't live independent of anything.
Now, here's the thing. If you're trying to create a body so that you can transplant one brain to another, this is not going to work. So if that's what your fear was, Shujin, my brain's too big to put into something that tiny.
How about replacement organs? Cloned
So
organs?
it depends on whether or not you can keep it alive, and if it doesn't have a brain, it's not a thinking thing. It's just a physical structure that resembles a human being in all the ways, in the internal organs and everything else. But the part that makes the whole thing human isn't there. It's not human anymore.
Hold that thought. Bridget, brainstem, what is it good for?
It's good for autonomic functioning.
And what is necessary in order to keep a body, quote unquote, alive?
Autonomic functioning, but that would be your reptilian brain.
Which means its entire job is to have the pulmonary system operating,
Yeah.
and maybe some digestion.
Thermoregulation, things like that, but it's not going to be able to live outside of the body. You know, after it's born, it will die.
Yeah, that part it does talk about in anencephaly. It's a
cannot
few hours
live.
to a few days.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Um,
You have to remember that the brain is not it's not a unique functioning thing. It's like routines and subroutines, like consider thought processes or even automation processes as individual modules. You've got modules working that keep us breathing. Like they're working all on their own.
Right. And that's the brainstem part that we were just talking about.
Yeah.
And Stephanie is bringing up a good point, and
I was going to say, yeah.
let me cover that a second. Stephanie was saying it would be cheaper and easier to clone organs separately. Correct. However, let me throw this wrench into the works. What about research purposes?
Yeah.
If you are trying to find out what DNA expresses what combinations express what, if the concern ethically is you should not do this to a living, breathing human, someone who would have to live for however long with whatever that expressed gene section is, if you know how to specifically trigger non-personhood, what is the ethical standard by which you have to judge whether or not you should be doing Hachimoji gene encoding in what would otherwise be a human embryo to see what happens. Because if you're dealing without an actual human, a piece of living tissue that could never have brain function because there was effectively no brain, effectively, where is the ethical line as to whether or not you should or could do that? Because could is something that could be, even at this point.
They were saying in the video you had us watch that the Hachimoji DNA does not survive outside of laboratory conditions.
Right.
Currently.
The other thing, the part of what you were asking that kind of struck out to me is that, hey, what happens if we stick this in embryo genetics? Okay, that is as simple as putting in the embryo genetics and seeing how the other DNA interacts, what the code now reads. You could actually do that in potentially a digital environment, literally a simulation based upon what we know, because we've already mapped the human genome, right?
Agreed.
And as we discover more and more about how that mapping relates based on location, because, just because these two pieces of DNA are the same, it doesn't mean they do the same thing, because their positions will actually change what they do. So with all this stuff, if we had a complete understanding of where everything went and everything did, then we could say, okay, pull this into a simulator. Take this synthetic DNA and pop this in here and see what the simulator has to say, and then do laboratory experiment. But it doesn't mean you have to let the embryo come to term or go past viability. You can still manipulate the DNA in these early stages and say, oh, look, those changes that were predicted by simulation happen. So this simulation has a high probability of likelihood that if this was allowed to continue, this would be the results. We can actually have ethical study without requiring the embryo to develop into a human that's going to suffer from these changes, potentially.
But a pro-birther would never go along with that either.
Yeah, a pro-birther doesn't use logic to begin with, so
no, they don't.
I wouldn't expect them to.
They would never go for that.
No, because their entire motive is ready-made answers. So
there are pro-birthers who think condoms are made by Satan.
Right. That's the problem.
That may or may not necessarily be the case. I mean, you ever tried to pull on latex leggings?
Well, okay, good point.
Wait,
yeah.
What?
Shujin, you have to shave first.
Yeah, I know. Being Italian, that's liquid latex. That's a different discussion. We're talking about that.
You're supposed to put on the powder before you do that.
Well, again, we're not talking about me here. Okay, we're not talking about me and how I got that Brazilian all the way down. You know what? We're not talking about me.
But you managed to get them off,
I actually was
right?
not talking about you. There was a club I was at a couple months back, and I learned that.
Move it. So here's the thing. The problem with trying to do DNA simulation, and I'm going back to Bridget on this one because I know what the answer is. Remember, you never ask the question if you don't know what the answer is already. Bridget, how many experimentations do we have that tell us what gene expression with the new Hachimoji DNA structure is?
0.
We have no way of knowing currently what those new expressions are going to be. Therein lies part of the problem.
But at the same time, we also don't have a complete understanding of our own genetics itself.
True.
Mm-hmm.
True. And that's part of the reason why I was saying
that. And that was part of what I was saying was, first we have to get to step 1, which is understanding that when this clip of normal DNA in human biology resides at this point in this chain for these people, it results in this result. We have to get to that point. Then we can say, look, now that we have this and the experiments that we've been doing with just synthetic DNA in just a laboratory environment, not on humans, but just our own thing with the synthetic stuff and seeing what we could do with it and twist it and everything else. Now we can take this, put this in a digital environment, take the results of that, throw that of a digital environment, and start to experiment in a digital environment. And yes, or I should say no, is it going to give us definitive answers right off the bat? No, it's not. It is going to give us something that we always work with, and that is ideas, concepts, premises, hypotheses, potential paths to take, potential paths to avoid, predictions, things that can be tested and agreed. You know, if you test something and it fails and it fails experiment, back to the drawing board.
Agreed.
Nobody ever once said that trying new things was going to be not only easy, but without cost. The question is, how much cost are you willing to pay? Now, the way I see it, an egg is an egg, sperm is a sperm. They're not humans yet because they haven't met, they haven't formed, and they haven't taken the time to develop the brain, the heart, and all the other fun stuff that goes along with it. Not a human. They're parts. They're potential. But that's my viewpoint. And I know there are a lot of people who agree with me. I also know that there are an exceptional amount of people that disagree with me. And it's more than likely going to be that way for the rest of my life. So I posit this. We develop the tools. We work on the foundations of understanding what we can and let the future generations figure out how to take that approach.
And before anybody starts to say that's a cop-out or that's not ethical, I remind you of one Professor Faraday who, upon showing off electromagnetism and how it changes the direction of a compass, his answer to, well, what is it good for? It was basically, I don't have idea one, but that's up for everybody else to figure out later. So keep that in mind.
We have developed things that we didn't know what they were immediately useful for, but we later on figured out what we could use them for. Sadly, us humans being very violent, we tend to turn things into weapons more often than not. Is the potential for abuse with CRISPR and everything else to make horrible, god-awful weapons, as the phrase goes? Yeah, we've just about turned everything else into a weapon, for crying out loud. Why not?
Yep. And before anybody thinks of the most virulent strain of smallpox imaginable, I take it for you the opposite direction. What about a genetic strain of Homo superior that is otherwise immune to stuff that would otherwise be, vaccination necessaries, or able to survive in higher radiation environments?
A sexually transmitted cure for AIDS.
Okay.
I'm not saying that's the optimum way to do it, but imagine if suddenly a cure sprouted in the environment that was as contagious as any other sexually transmitted disease, but all it does is attack the AIDS virus.
No, I get where you're going. It's just not the avenue I was going down. I was talking about stuff like from the old Star Trek episode Space Seed. Khan and his people were genetically engineered super beings. They were stronger, faster, more resilient, more intelligent, more shrewd, and eventually they were also
designed for war.
Exactly. So the idea of the long game, warfare-wise, for creating a new weapon of is something that could potentially happen with what we have currently. Never mind adding the Hachimochi into the whole equation, because we don't know what it does. And more importantly, and Joey, I wanna throw you into this one, because you're gonna see where I'm going on this one really quickly. We have the ability of tinkering with the human genome, with pretty much any genome right now, using the CRISPR system, and with fairly good reliability. We currently have, as humans, a coccyx.
Coccyx.
Okay. Sorry, Bridget.
I said coccyx.
Okay.
Coccyx.
Okay. Wait, are we talking about the Mongols again? That's a different pronunciation.
We're talking about the tailbone.
Yes. I've always pronounced it coccyx. I thought that's how it was pronounced. In any case,
whatever, that thing.
yes, the vestigial tail fusing at the bottom of our spines. If the expression for that was changed, theoretically, humans could have tails again of some sort. They could be born.
Still do.
No, yeah.
Yeah, some are still born with them. Yeah.
Yep. Now, here's the thing, Joe, and now you're going to see exactly where I'm going. Change the gene expression to have an actual tail. Activate the gene expression for a condition known as porphyria. What do you then have, or do you need the peanut gallery to tell you what porphyria is?
I'm afraid I'm going to need the latter there.
Bridget, do you know?
I'm cheating. I'm looking at the Mayo Clinic website.
Just don't look at WebMD, because that's
Because
just
everybody has cancer on WebMD.
that's just going to say, cancer.
Yeah. Short version, porphyria is typically referred to as werewolf's disease.
That was close to what I was coming up with. I was thinking the disease that resulted in the pale skin and the incisors, and people assuming that the folks were vampires.
There's actually two versions of it. The one that affects the skin, but there's another one that affects the nervous system.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
So, here's the question that I'm posing over to you.
Mm-hmm.
You are oh God, I'm going to paint these people in a really bad light. I'm using it as a thought experiment. I am not ragging on any particular person. You will understand where I finish off with this. You are someone, it doesn't matter who the hell it is. You are going to have a child. You are an otherkin. You have decided that your child should have a tail and fur, even though they are human. But it is part of the human genome, even though it is not expressed. Now you see where I'm going.
Yep.
What do you end up with at that point?
Designer babies. I mean, that's basically what it is. I mean, yeah, you could activate the gene to give your baby your grandfather's eyes, or, if your baby's going to have big ears, you can go ahead and give them smaller ears. Or if you want your baby to have a tail, go right ahead. Now, there are, of course, limitations to that. I really don't think we're ever going to find a way of, incorporating the same genetics that allow sharks to just replace teeth indefinitely. Though I think we should be looking into that personally, because
well, that's just you.
As I'm don't want to paint any dentists in a bad light. Nobody likes going to the dentist.
Yeah, that's fair. That's fair enough. But you see, the problem, for whatever reason, if I've not made it perfectly plain for everybody at this point,
Yes.
what I'm talking about are basically kids, human babies that
Being-
have fur that cover 99% of their bodies with a tail. The idea that the Greeks had once upon a time ago of what the Minotaur would be, because the Minotaur was a combination of a demigod, I think is what it was, mated with a bull. And that's what you end up with.
It never ceases to amaze me that so many people are worried about designer babies. And yet they choose to focus on that rather than focusing on let's wipe out all these other things. Let's wipe out the predisposition for alcoholism or leukemia or any of those things, or autism. And yet they're like, oh, well, somebody's going to make their kid look like a werewolf. It's like,
But that's just it.
that's
because
something they would be wiping out, believe it or not.
it comes down to that. It's the motive for making this decision. Is it for the, let's call it a new being? Is it in the interest of their survival, or is it in the interest of your own vanity?
And that still, even if you're getting rid of those genetic dispositions that are otherwise unhealthy when they happen, like alcoholism, for instance. I say that as I burp from the stuff that I'm drinking. That is, if you really boil it down, that is a designer baby.
Yeah.
Even so.
But do you
It's
see
a
my
designer baby if it's only available to some, rather than making it available to all.
Now
course.
hold it. There's the rub that I was hoping to get to. Who has the ability of getting it?
The wealthy.
Bingo. Exactly.
As if they didn't already have enough advantages.
Exactly where I was hoping to finally get to. And thank you so much for finally dragging it down over to that tech. Seriously, I was really I was really hoping that we would finally get to it before I had to actually, drag us kicking and screaming to it. Yeah, exactly. Those that have the gold make the rules. Those that have the money to be able to have better babies are the ones that to get to propagate that later, that lineage. And to use an expression, where's the fairness in that?
Look at Edward Jenner, the creator.
I can't. He's dead.
He created.
You could. You just wouldn't
worked
have a very
on
good view.
the vaccine against smallpox. Could have profited about it, right?
Yep.
Nope, didn't do so. It's the same thing here. You have the potential for profit and sticking it to people unless they have X amount of dollars and all that other crap. But you also have people who could take the right actions and prevent that from happening. The people, it depends. It really does. And who knows? Maybe if we let the rich be vain enough that they start giving their kids Mensa level IQs, and these kids come out and go, wow, my parents are really dumb. The shit they're doing is causing global climate change and causing the poor and everything, to be downtrodden and middle class to become poor. And we need to change this shit. Well, I can't let my parents know, so I work in the background and change this shit. Granted, yeah, I'm looking at the potential positive side of things. But you got to look at the positive side of things. You can be a realist all you want. But there's a saying, prepare for the worst, but hope for the best.
It all comes down to you know, as humans, we have the ability of choice, or the illusion of, anyways. But that's another road we won't go down.
Yeah, tell me about
But
it.
because, you know, most animal species, they're victim to their own programming. You know, if they have an advantage, it's their environment that's going to decide whether, you know, first off, what is an advantage and what's not. It's their environment that's going to decide how they succeed or not. But we as humans, we have a choice. If we have something we consider an advantage, we have the choice of whether to share it or exploit it.
Yep. Here's a good one for you.
What kind of socialist bullshit you talking about?
Oh, it gets better than that. Hey, Joe, enjoy this idea. Bridget,
yep, that guy's
smallpox eradicated 1970, 73, I think, 75, something like that. Okay, and that was done through an inoculation project worldwide. It was everybody getting everybody getting vaccinated against it, so that everybody would have the ability of countering it with their own antibodies and such. So far, so good. Okay, now let's say that in the future, genetic manipulation of all fetal embryos for IVF, artificial insemination, are intentionally manipulated to already genetically have that resistance. Would that be a boon to our species as a whole?
Well, it would, but it would be expensive.
It would. It would. But if it was simply done as just a matter of course, it was just part of it all, you would theoretically have a new strain of humans that were specifically genetically predisposed to being able to repel smallpox.
Yeah, but at as much as it costs, you're not going to have that available to all. There's just no way for it to be.
True. But it would be available to those that would be able to afford IVF. I am using the right acronym, right?
IVF is extremely expensive, though.
Yes, but that's exactly my point. Those that can't afford it, if it was just simply an extra, let's say it's a CRISPR thing of like $100, it wouldn't be that much of an extra strain at that point, really. If you're talking tens of thousands of dollars. So the point being that you would have a new strain of human. And yes, it would be beneficial to the human race as a whole, because that genetic trait would propagate out over time. Here's the problem. What if there were kids that then, years later, were told, we need samples of your blood because you have specific antigens against something new that came? I didn't ask for this. Who then gets to decide, well, you were manufactured in a lab, so we have access to you because you're a product of our work. We've patented your DNA sequence, so we are allowed access to it. And before you think I'm going off the deep end, I'm pretty sure that's something that has actually cropped up before as a question that has happened in the labs already.
That seems more a rationalization than anything, because it comes down to a question of who's going to decide you know, and who is going to decide for someone else who can decide for themselves? Do you see what I'm saying?
I'm not sure that I do.
How can one autonomously thinking being decide for another autonomously thinking being what's good for it or not? Because if you have the ability to decide for yourself something, you should have that quote unquote right. Like, who's to decide for others what's good for them when they can decide for themselves?
But at the stage of conception, there is no way for the subject to be able to choose for itself. You can't
talking about the
retroactively.
stage of conception.
No, I'm saying this.
You were talking about a lab
I
situation
guess you're
where
talking about who owns the right to that person.
yeah, like the lab is basically saying we own you, so we can do what we want with you, and you know, that's morally unacceptable because the person they say they own is capable of deciding for itself what's good or bad for itself.
Right. And I'm trying to remember. I'm gonna have to go looking it up. I'm pretty sure the piece that I'm remembering was a lab that was trying to patent the system for breast cancer. Shit, I've forgotten exactly what it was.
You bring up a good point because there was one point at the onset of the advent of genetic sequencing. There were certain companies trying to patent certain genetic sequences. Is that still an actual thing?
I think that's the one that I'm thinking of in particular. Yeah, it's just been a long time. I've forgotten what's actually happened with that particular.
Like there was some sort of wave of like a copyright panic where they were trying as fast as they were discovering what genetic sequencing, certain genetic sequences did. They were patenting them as fast as they could.
I don't remember off the top of my head, but wasn't there a big hullabaloo, political hullabaloo back with the when they were dealing with Dolly and whatnot? They were questioning, you know, ethics based on cloning and whatnot, and didn't they say that you just can't copyright DNA?
Yes, but that was something that had to go through the courts through a lot of finagling.
Oh, well, yes. I remember there being a big hullabaloo about that.
Oh, hell yeah. And if memory serves, I believe Dolly was the 7th attempt, I think. Something like that. And don't even get me started on the whole in the late 70s, some religious wackadoo group of UFO believers who claimed that they had a fully genetically engineered human child. All I remember is that they had really large gold chains with some kind of giant medallion, and past that, I don't remember who the hell or what the hell that was. It was just freaky. It was National Enquirer type freak ass. Yeah. So you go from there. I don't remember who that was.
It's hard to imagine. We no longer have Bat Boy or anything like that.
Oh yes, we do. It's called Rudy Giuliani. Have you looked at him recently? Tell me I'm wrong. By the way, before anybody gets on my shit about it, it's a stolen joke. Somebody else went ahead and made the comparison already. Shut up. Anyway.
Rudy's got a sense of humor, or else he wouldn't be in his position.
I'm sorry. You mispronounced the word dementia. Good try, though. Very good. Very good. Yes.
Come on, he makes cameos based on jokes at his expense.
The only reason someone like Giuliani is in the position he is that his voters are even stupider than he is.
I'm sorry. I got something interesting over on the chat. By the way, Kato, hi. Quote, there was a dark cover-up about test tube kids with colorful hair and eyes being killed by the government. Hold that thought. My question for these types of statements is, and will now forever be, if it was killed by the government so that no one ever finds out about it, how did you find out about it? Just gonna leave that one there for the time being.
Just saying, if we can literally put a cruise missile up somebody's rectum from 3 continents away. We have the technology.
Okay, okay. We have the technology means we have FedEx shipping for 55-gallon drums of KY jelly. I'm not going to go ahead and talk any further about it. And for anybody that's wondering, yes, that actually is a thing. Joey and I both talked about it once upon a time ago.
We talked about it on this show too.
Yes, we did. Yes, we did. And what a glorious moment it was to find out that the shipping on that was only about $17.
Oh, that's cheap.
Yeah, tell me about it, man. We had a good night with that one. That's not that kind of a good night. We had a good night talking. Shut up,
Shujin. I never want you to discuss how good a night we had over a 55-gallon drum of lube.
We're not talking about that now. We're all I ask is for a classy.
You brought this on yourself.
No, you invaded Poland. Yeah, some people get that reference and screw y'all. Oh,
get down from there.
This is what happens.
I will be back. I have to go elevationally adjust my feline.
Okay, so while Joe is going ahead and tinkering with his pussy, Stephanie had gone ahead and I would venture to suggest that we do not have the technology to create such a kid. Here's the thing, and I say this yet again. At the dawn of the 21st century, the operative word is yet. That's the big thing. That's the big difference of the whole damn thing. Because as we know full well, finding information is one thing. Applying it is entirely a different matter. Because it's incredibly difficult to figure out how it's going to be applied. But as Tech pointed out, we have a bad tendency of weaponizing pretty damn much everything that we know what to do with. I mean, shit, we figured out how to weaponize water. Thank you, Super Soaker Company. That was very nice. I think it's Nerf that owns them now. Shit, there's a whole other thing.
Nerf owns
Super Soaker.
Super Soaker.
Yeah, go fig that. Anyway, we're getting down to the end of it all. And matter of fact,
we weaponized bats.
Yes, that's true. That's true. And that was not a good idea.
I mean, come on. Yeah, in recent history, we've weaponized everything from Metallica to
Panama. Remember, Panama. Remember, General Noriega. Yes, you were listening to Panama for the last 4 hours. And what's up next? Panama. For those of you that think that I'm exaggerating and making a joke, no,
he's not.
I'm not.
But yeah, not every attempt at weaponization has proven fruitful. If you doubt me on this,
the dogs.
Go ask the Russians.
Yes, the anti-tank dogs, right?
Yes.
And by the way, this is not the alcohol talking, but I will take off my hat for those Poor innocent little dogs. Actually, I don't think they were that little. I don't remember what they were using. I don't know.
Well, considering they had anti-tank mines strapped to them,
Yeah.
yeah, they weren't they were. I mean, we're not talking Leica here.
No. And Leica's another one, but that's a whole other thing. For Leica?
No, the mines.
Yeah. There's that. There's that. Anyway.
Though we did find a way to weaponize mice without even trying.
The Black Plague?
No, well, yes, that could be considered.
We did.
Mother Nature took care of that for us.
Specifically, in the spring following the first winter of the Nazi invasion of Russia, the Nazis discovered that Russian field mice really like the taste of fine German-engineered wiring.
Oh.
Which is why a lot of German tanks and hardware broke down.
You know, there are people that have rabbits in their houses and have discovered that going wireless is the way to go for a lot of stuff. Can't imagine why.
So now you can imagine why Feifel's family had to abandon.
Yes. By the way, Bridget, it's not just rabbit owners that have that happen, is it?
No. Ferrets like to chew things as well.
I believe the operating statement at this point is.
Pretty much.
That's
it's already 3:00. We're running late today.
No. It's 1:00. So now's the time for us to go ahead and close up shop. For those of you that are wondering, yeah, we know it's just about time to throw the
America, because we're a progressive nation, except when it comes to archaic forms of time management.
Yeah, which means that shit's just going to go.
Daylight savings time happen during the show?
It's actually happening now over here on the East Coast.
Oh, so we have 1 more hour.
You know what?
No.
No.
It's fall back, spring forward. We lost an hour. We should have ended 2 hours ago.
Yeah. So my apologies. I was thinking something and looking at something, and on my computer right now it says it's 3:05, which normally should have been 2:05, and I said 1:05 in my head. And I was thinking of it wrong, so yeah, it's about that time.
Also, we want 1 hour overtime.
Yes.
Yeah, it was a fast hour.
Yeah.
You know, isn't it just like a guy to go ahead and do that to you, Bridget?
Everything's relative.
Why do you think that's the problem only Bridget has?
Why only guys?
Because guys really don't care.
Are you assuming my gender?
Hey, we care.
We care a lot.
Not all of us, admittedly, but then again, not all women do either.
It's fair. That's fair. So we need to go ahead and close up shop.
Did Faith No More right there. We care.
That's perfectly fine. Let me go ahead and give you guys all a last shot. Joseph, was there anything that you wanted to get out before we go ahead and close up here?
Nope.
Fine, good, nice and simple that way. Tech, nice of you to show up early. You know, anything that you didn't get out that you want to go ahead and get out at this point, speech wise. Speech wise, that's not going to get us sued.
All I'm saying is it's going to take time to answer these questions. We have to learn a lot about ourselves. We have to learn a lot more about our technologies. We have to analyze our own societies. We have to do the things that require maturity that we as a species are just not very mature about. And the only way is time, patience, and moving forward.
I'll go with that. Joey, any last item?
I go to sleep now.
Almost. I'll hurry it along.
You got to remember, I'm in the middle of getting ready for moving, which means I've been lugging a lot of heavy shit around.
Fair enough, and thank you for being able to make it. Bridget, any last item that you want to go ahead and throw out there?
Nope. Not me.
Nice and simple. Okay,
So
so
I may have one thing. I may be moving to the country for a while.
Oh
So,
yeah, you did mention that. I think last week before.
so you might be able to see me on video
Oh,
Okay.
in a castle environment.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Up until the English show up.
Actually, I was thinking more along the lines of Iron Maiden.
Now when
That can be arranged.
now all we have to do is try to get Chris back on the show and then have him go down there.
I've considered. We shall see.
Y'all welcome.
You are not allowed to say y'all. You understand that? What do you mean why? He's Canadian. He's not allowed to say that.
oh.
Who decides?
Look,
Right.
none of us live in a proper latitude to be using the term y'all.
Y'all, that's true. The only one would be Ms. Ashley, and even she ain't showed up her ass here. To be perfectly honest, however, I really don't want to see her ass, but that's just me.
But
What?
I'm from the
Maybe-
South, and you can't take the South out of the girl. I could say y'all. I could say all of y'all.
Can you put the South into somebody else?
No.
Oh, I'm not touching no. Stop. No.
And how much pressure would that require?
No. Shame on you. Some people get that. Death battle. You're welcome.
Well, that's the shame part is in your head, sir. Whatever you were thinking.
Bless your heart.
Oh, you know what?
Remember,
Fuck you too.
behind every bless your heart is a teeny tiny fuck you.
Ain't that the case? You know what?
Thank you,
Fuck
Seth Andrews. Thank you
Yes.
so much.
That's true.
I actually
All right.
have an audio clip of that on my phone.
Make that your new ringtone right there. All right, so as a last item that was over here on the chat, Doc Waxon, which by the way, hi man, good to see you. Where is the piece over here? Oh, sorry, Stephanie had put, I agree, Shujin. I should have put yet on my statement. Yeah, that's something I'm actually going to use as my part of my closing. But Doc Waxon had said, quote, "Here's a completely harmless new thing we've discovered. Let's find out how to kill people with it."
Yeah.
I'm going to go ahead and use the example of the cane toad in Australia. An otherwise seemingly innocuous idea that's just bad. You don't know about the cane toad, you should really look it up. And
Or
then go out driving really, really lot.
Or just go on YouTube and just look up Australians versus cane toads and see just how much vitriol a human being can produce.
What is a cane toad?
Wait, what?
What's a cane toad?
It is a speed bump in Australia. It is several 100 million speed bumps in Australia.
Okay.
Basically, it is a invasive species that was introduced to Australia. I don't remember exactly why it was, whether it was an accident or whether it was
No,
intentional.
it was completely intentional. The idea was that they were supposed to have eaten some other something or other that was supposed to be a problem.
They were intended as natural pest control, and being an invasive species with no natural predators in Australia, it became something of an issue.
That's putting it mildly. You can make a very good living by stabbing them with you know how people go out into the park with the stick with the needle on the end of it and just pick up stuff. Yeah, you can get a pretty penny just by going out there and delivering carcasses, hundreds of thousands of carcasses, and hardly make any kind of a dent in the population.
And then you just do that for a couple of weeks till you have enough money saved up to rent a steamroller for a day or two.
Yeah, and even that's not going to do anything for it, but that's a whole other thing.
And then you end up with the same situation as having all those rubber chickens in the buyout bin in the store.
That's a whole other thing. Anyway, to finish it off, what Stephanie had said, I should have put "yet" on my statement. Oh, good Lord, ain't that the case? If there's one thing that we've learned, we humans scientifically are absolutely astounding at being able to discover new things. It takes time sometimes. And the processes that we have to find stuff is absolutely mind-bending and esoteric. The idea that we can see sub-microscopic, well, again, don't know if it's an animal, don't know if it's what it is, but a virus, with being able to image it with something that is not light. Exactly.
Our abilities...
Everything is light.
Our abilities in terms of advancement in technology have far outstripped our abilities in sociological advancement. After all, we've been flying for well over 100 years now, and yet the people of Puerto Rico still cannot cast a vote for the president.
Yeah, that's a whole other threefer right there. But be that as it may, the idea of adding "yet" at this point is both an incredibly heartwarming idea and bone-chilling idea all simultaneously. What we have to look forward to is absolutely amazing. The idea that 10 years ago, the idea of the term gamma knife didn't exist. And if you were to ask about it 10 years ago, somebody would have gone ahead and said, oh, sure, that's something from Bruce Banner, right?
Yeah, correction. Didn't exist outside of comic books.
Yeah, let me finish so we can close out here. But now it's a treatment for cancer, and it's a real thing. The idea that we have the ability of changing the very structure of the blocks that build life as we know it in a method that could do great strides forward in evolution is tantalizing, but simultaneously is simply thrilling to the point of sheer madness. Yes, in future, it is entirely possible that there will be a strain of Homo sapien that will be immune to various other diseases because there will be another Spanish flu that will kill who only knows how many millions upon millions of people. And the ones that survive are the ones that were genetically predisposed to fend it off, or were affluent enough to be able to survive because they could afford treatment. But we have things that are tantalizingly close to reality, no longer science fiction, that we can almost grasp and use as a species globally with nary an idea as to what it will end up doing long term, biologically, sociologically, economically. We don't know what the outcome of it all is going to be. And part of that is why the, quote, human condition is important to study. All the ideas of morality be damned as far as to ethics in the lab. Whatever ends up happening will happen eventually, one way or another, because somebody is going to go ahead and do it, whether they're supposed to or not. The biggest question of it all is, what are we going to do collectively as a species when that happens? Because we don't know what it's going to do. We don't know what it's going to affect. But it's going to be that one person to start off with. Are they going to be treated as a human or as a zoological freak without the benefits of being treated with the human dignity and rights that they would otherwise deserve? Science fiction is really good about giving us an opportunity to look through that lens.
Yep.
Let's hope that we have the opportunity of looking through that lens for a very long time yet, until we can understand where we should end up when that point finally happens. With that, time for us to go ahead and call it a night. As always, everybody, thank you very much for being with us. We hope that you found something worthwhile in all of our perspectives and found something worthwhile to really think about and talk about with some folks for yourselves later. Over there in the chat, again, thank you guys. Doc Waxon, Stephanie, Cato, and I think that's all that we've got over there, because that's all that's been chiming in over there. For those that might be worried about Phyllis, she's had other stuff going on this weekend that's gotten her busy, so don't worry, it's not anything that's wrong with her. I knew that she wasn't going to be here, so Phyllis, just so you know, thinking about you. So thank you, everybody. Joseph, thank you very much for your time this morning. And yeah, we're gonna be changing our time for the next show, so you got 2 weeks to get adjusted for that when it finally happens. So thanks for being with us tonight, this morning, I should say. If you're there, Joseph, are you there? Are you free?
That's called commando nowadays.
Yeah, I'm guessing. There you are. Thank you for being able to make it, Joseph.
Hello.
Well,
Okay, that's it. The whole show's ruined. Thank you.
Yeah, we'll come back around, because if I did see that you unmuted yourself, but we're not hearing anything. We'll come back around for you in just a second. Tech, thank you very much. You have yourself a good morning. Enjoy your 1 hour less of sleep tonight.
And the worst part is that Satisfactory has the open alpha access going on right now. I have one of the keys, and so it's just like I have until such and such day before the key wears off, and then I'm locked in until they release it to early access stage. And I'm just like, I just lost an hour. So, hasta la bye-bye, people.
Joey, you tried not to go through a whole bottle of Tylenol, because I know you're not even going to be bothered. So you good luck. Stay safe down there, man. You take care of yourself. I know. I'll get you out of here shortly. Still, thank you very much. Fine, I'll take it as that. Joseph, did you get back? Can we say proper good night to you?
Hello.
There
you
you
hear?
are. Yes,
okay.
now we can. Thank you for being able to make it this morning.
Yeah, thank you. And yeah, sorry, I froze up there for a moment. I don't know why exactly.
Fair enough. But glad you're able to make it. And Bridget, thank you very kindly. What?
Is there a show next week? I wanted to say see you next week, but
there will not be.
Oh, good, because that's going to be St. Patty's Day.
That works out fine.
No show on St. Patrick's Day?
I'll explain in a moment. Bridget, thank you for your time. You have yourself a good morning. Don't kill the ferrets.
I'll try not to.
Step on little carpet sharks.
Is somewhere between 5 and 10 years, but that's a little iffy at times. Just saying.
Fair enough. So, people want to find you.
You can find me on Facebook, Bridget Fitch, or find me at my blog, bridgetfitch2112.wordpress.com.
As always, folks, if you'd like to check all of our past episodes and subscribe to the audio-only version of the show, or find all of our contact links, take a swing over to holycrapthevlogcast.com. You can go ahead and check all that stuff out if you're still using G+. Anyway, if you'd like to leave us a voicemail message, of course, the voice line is still always open. That's 859-HCTV-554, 859-4288-554. And, of course, if you'd like to drop a couple of dollars to help offset some of the hosting costs, that's over at patreon.com/HCTV. Thank you very much on that one. And as I was saying, yes, next week, no show, because I'm going to be up in Toronto. I cannot host a show. I'm going to be busy DJing, as a matter of fact. Probably, no, I'm sorry. I will be doing photography at this point next week up in Toronto for Fertile Equinox. Of course, without Heretic Woman, that makes it a little bit difficult because that's, well, that is what it is. And we did get word that Dallin is going to be getting the bonus check that he richly deserves soon. So probably sometime this upcoming week, in which case, Dallin, congratulations. We're proud for you. You deserve more dollars than what you're probably going to get anyway. But I do not expect him to be ready to go ahead and host a show next week. So we'll just call off next week and we'll just move on to the following week. So the week of the 17th, no show. After that, the week of the 34th. What? No, wait. What is it going to be at that point? It will be the 6th, 7th. No, I'm looking too far ahead. 24th. God, see, this is what happens. I cannot read maps. Sometimes I can't read numbers.
Yeah, just in time for my birthday. Yay!
Yes, well, congratulations on that. You're still older than me, so... Yes, for those of you that were wondering, yes, I hit 50 on this past Monday. So...
Holy smokes, you're old.
Yeah, you know what? And instead of going out and getting myself the balls? What the hell was that?
And Shaft.
And for those of you that are wondering, no, I did not go out and buy myself a new car. I have now replaced my S5 with a literally hot off the presses S10. Yes, this is the first time I've actually treated myself. Actually, I've dropped it a couple of times, but then again, this is Pergo flooring, so it's not that bad. I have never had a brand new phone, so this is kind of new for me. It's kind of fun. It's kind of new, and I don't know, man. We'll see. Joey and I are going to have words, and don't worry about it. It's all good stuff. But otherwise, you guys take care of yourselves, and thanks for being with us. We will see you in 2 weeks. And if you happen to find yourself in Toronto next weekend for Fertile Equinox, I will be DJing Friday night and Saturday afternoon. So if you happen to be up there and you want to pop in, you're probably going to have to pay your way in. But if you want to ask for me, feel free. I'll be more than happy to go ahead and say hi. So until the next time we get together, of course, as always, I wish you all the peace I no longer have. I wish you the strength that I've learned. I wish you well. And my lady, it's almost 14 years later. I am still in love. Matane Fujin. I love you. I miss you. You dream of me. Till the next time we get together, everyone, as always, good night.